Hello, my name is Robert Mungary. I'm a sales engineer at Agilysys. Today we're going to be looking at Eatec, our inventory and procurement solution. It's going to be a very focused group today with inventory management, recipe management, menu engineering, and reporting. Let's go ahead and get into the product. Depending on who you are in the organization, when you log in, you may land on something like this, actionable items right away. You just have stock replenishment tiles that can all be customized to data that is available to you as your role or as a corporate hierarchy for full vision of everything across the organization. Stock levels by type. I have sales summary reporting, and I have product engineering reporting. That allows me to see how my products are doing right on the fly based on my specific date ranges that I'm looking at, and I can start taking action on these again. We see this as the heartbeat of the product moving forward and allowing you to take those actions and know what needs to happen. Again, it has been requested of us to focus on some very specific subject matter, and we're going to start with the inventory management aspect of Eatec. On the left hand, inventory masters, inventory managers, and our different modules. Again, depending on who you are within there and what roles and permissions you have, you may see all of these or you may only see specific ones of these. I would click into inventory and then set my inventory list, which would then take me to my inventory for food and beverage. If you're using it for retail, that would be available here as well. And we can, of course, segregate all of this based on roles again and locations. So we're going to stick with food and beverage inventory today. Most importantly to the system is the ability to search for items. As we all know, if someone's in a hurry and they're looking for an inventory item and they can't find it, they're going to do what we really don't want them to do, which is add another item. And this starts to create a database that just has duplicates in it, and over time really produces some erroneous numbers for you, and you end up just having to do so much back-end work to clean it up with combining items. So we really want to make it easy for you to find items. So if I type in something like avocado, immediately it brings me back anything that has the letters of AVO in it. So I have Avocados California and a finished good called avocado toast fried chili toast. We also have a very powerful advanced search where I can search by a number of different attributes, whether that's a bin number, a description, a type, a status, a vendor, a supplier. Make it very easy for your users to find the items they're looking for. We really want to make sure that we keep this database clean, and that's one of the tools that we provided to do that, along with auditing, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So let's look at our avocado here. I'm going to go ahead and put this into edit mode, and so that we can actually have a little bit more screen real estate. You can see we have pictures uploaded of the avocado as optional. What is not optional are anything with a red asterisk. I have the type and the name that are required. The numbers can be generated, or you can type these in manually based on the vendor that it comes from. Just don't want to have duplicates, of course. It will not allow duplicate numbers. As far as types go, it's up to you. This is all configurable of how you want to do. I have produce, fresh fruit. I have produce, all kinds. I could have frozen fruit. I could have frozen vegetables, fresh vegetables. This is considered a fresh fruit botanically. And then also I classify it as a food and beverage. What's really important about this subtype in the class, even though they're not required fields like you see the asterisk here, you don't see it here, is that when you get into your reporting mechanisms, that you're going to be able to drill down like, okay, I'm looking at produce. If I'd only signed it to produce, I'm going to see everything in produce. But what if I really want to look at my fresh fruits or my frozen or my fresh vegetables and see what's going on with that? This is going to give you the ability to, again, just get more granular in your reporting and also sort by class. So I think these are very important fields. While they're not required, I think it's very important to give it good thought when you start getting into larger categories of items, such as produce. Let's drop down here. We have a lot of information readily available to us right on this single page. As you can see, I don't know if you noticed, but I can navigate through different tabs. So I can have multiple modules open at one time, making it very easy to be looking at something in a recipe and then looking at it as a raw inventory good. So if I look at this avocado pineapple toast and I want to look about the ingredients list and I'm going to see how much it's using, I can go back to that avocado and see, what the cost of that avocado is and what that's offering, maybe nutrition information. So again, a real nice way to manage your inventory without being relegated to jumping back and forth from modules. Keep multiple tabs open and just be very efficient within the solution. I digress. We're back to the avocado. We have our inventory details and our units of measure, which you're all probably familiar with. We purchase the avocados by the case, and we move them around by the each. Or maybe we move them around by the pound. I can select pound and say, no, we move these by the pound now. No problem. I can easily do that. But we use them in the recipes by the each. We use half an avocado, a quarter avocado, whatever that may be, if we're using that raw ingredient. So it will calculate all these. If I modify my current cost to $65, 65, you'll see my current cost go up as soon as I tab over. So that will go up in real time. Typically, this isn't done in the application, maybe initially, but we'll get what are called sales orders, or pardon me, order guides from your vendors that will then be sent on whatever frequency to update this kind of information for you. So I have my units of measure, my transactions, and my recipe units all right here in the solution. If you have custom units of measure, Eatec can handle that as well. As far as settings go on this item, we can have specific depletion location, depletion options. Don't deplete would be something like water out of the tap. While it's part of the recipe, we're not keeping that an inventory listed item. We have things like waste factor, which can be very important depending on your volume and where you want to be with your cost of goods. I like to use the analogy of a dartboard with the bullseye. There's the bullseye, and then there's the dead bullseye in the center. If you want to get to that dead bullseye, we're going to use things like waste factor, and yielding. While I buy a 10-pound bag of avocado or a 20-pound case of avocados, after I hull them, pit them, and slice them, I end up with, or maybe a 10-pound, let's use 10 pounds. I have 10 pound, I hull it, I slice, I pit it, I slice it, I end up with 8 pounds of usable avocado. That can be significant to your cost of goods when you look at it, and you start producing on larger levels, or if you're using economies or scales of economy to acquire larger items of groups. So again, really up to you how you use that. We also have shelf life. We can have inventory counts. Catch weight is another one that's pretty commonly used, which is something like you order a 20-pound case of halibut, but it always comes in with some variances that you want to monitor. So if I were to set this to yes, anytime someone scanned the barcode at receiving, it's going to prompt them to weigh that item so we know exactly how much we got. Again, where do you want to be on that dartboard? This is the kind of detail you'll get with Eatec. We're going to quantify things, qualify it over time, and then make suggestions on what should happen in the future and give you options about managing your cost of goods sold. In addition to that, I have nutritional information. We are interfaced to the USDA. We can bring in avocados raw. According to the USDA, it has per 100 grams, 825 or 35 calories, DRV, and as our decorated balance, but we have per 100 grams, 167 calories. And you can see all these things. So anywhere that this avocado is used in a recipe or a product, the aggregate of the quantity of this avocado will be used in that product, so you have an accurate reading of the nutritional values and allergens associated to it as well. I also have locations. Where do I have these things on hand? In the central kitchen, I have 1,248 of them. I love this feature because it gives me a heads up on where all my inventory is stored. So if someone calls me and says, I need avocados in the Fairway restaurant, I can see this and know that I'm going to probably transfer some from central kitchen to the Fairway restaurant because these are perishable items and I want to move them so that they can be used accordingly and not have to donate to a food bank perhaps, or even worse, spoil them off. I guess it's not bad to be giving them to a food bank. I don't need to imply that it is by saying even worse. But my point is we want to really be able to take action on the inventory we have and make the most of it when we use it. Maximize return on these investments, as they say. You can also see my current cost, and we also have a weighted average cost. Eatec uses a weighted average for your quantity on hand. What that is I bought a case of avocado for our 20-pound box of avocados 1 week. 2 months later, I bought a 30-pound or a 20-pound box of avocados for $30. So $20 for the first case. 3 months later, it went up to $30. Eatec is going to do a weighted average algorithm on that. It's going to calculate how many of the $20 avocados are left in inventory based on theoretical sales or last physical count, and calculate against how many you just purchased of the $30 avocados and give you a weighted average. So if it was 30, 20, and 30, it's going to come in around 25. It really just depends on, for simple math, $25. But it really is going to depend on how much you have left of the $20 avocados. To that note, Eatec does utilize a first in, first out typically. So we're going to give you actual cost wherever this avocado is used. So based on those theoretical or those last physical counts, we're going to continue using those $20 avocados until they've expired and we've moved into the $30 avocado. So if we have a recipe that's using $20 avocados one day, we've used all those based on FIFO. When we move into 30, the cost of that recipe is going to increase at that point of when we moved into the $30 avocados. So you'll always have actual cost on all your products. You can also see things like min pars and max pars. These are critical to managing inventory. Eatec really wants to find that sweet spot for you, making sure you have enough of everything, but not so much that you've tied up capital and stuff that's just sitting on a shelf or again perishing off and we're having to throw it away. But on the other end, we never want to run out and have a guest satisfaction issue and not be able to produce what our guests are expecting, whether that's food and beverage, whether that's retail, whether that's services. It's always about the guest. So we want to make sure we find that management. And with Eatec, if we set par levels per location for specific items or products or whatever it may be, Eatec's going to manage those for you. And it's going to run reports and tell you where you're below par, or more advanced is we can set up workflows that will scan locations at 3 in the morning or whatever time you want and say, hey, check this location for all of its inventory based on sales and tell me if anything's below minimum par. If it is below minimum par, let's create a purchase request, a requisition, a purchase order, you decide, to bring that location back up to their maximum par level, or one of 8 other pars that can be assigned within Eatec. For instance, 4th of July is coming up. We may have par level number 4 that's set for 4th of July. We're going to order an exceptionally larger amount of hot dogs, hamburgers, buns, chicken tenders, French fries, because we anticipate that there's going to be a very large crowd for the event that we're having on that day. So in that instance, we would come in and say, use the recommended par level of 4, par level 4 for 4th of July. And it will then bring you back up to those par levels so that you can manage that new crowd that's coming in. And again, making sure everybody's happy with a hot dog in their hand and a beer or a soda, and they're watching the event with a smile on their face. So just a very important factor there. I also have bins. If you do bin management, I don't know if you are, this comes in very handy. I'm not using them on my avocados, but herbs, spices, anything like that where you have a large dry storage area, and you have bins on a shelf, and you can put these in those bins and shelves. So when someone from has to go with a pick list, they'll know exactly where to go in the warehouse. They'll know what shelf, they'll know which bin to pull those items from. I also have lot managements for things like my avocado. As I was talking about, when we receive those things, we have those dates that when I scan this, I want to prompt it to say, hey, what's the manufacturer use by date on this? Because I want to know, what my shelf life is on this. Or you may pre-program it to say, hey, I don't care what they say. I know that these usually last around 7 days or 10 days. Usability out of them, because I can always, even though they go past what the supplier said, I can still mash them up and use them in avocado and brighten it with some lemon or something like that. So again, really up to you how you configure the system. But my point is we have ways of managing this. This is great for anything that's perishable, dairy products, produce, things of that nature. We also have supplier bids. I have one single avocado. Like I mentioned in the beginning, we don't want multiple items in here. We want a single avocado provided to us by multiple vendors. Here I have the U.S. Food Service and Greenleaf Produce with 2 different distribution centers, one from the east and one from the west, and different pack sizes. And then I have the site prices. Well, we make it very easy for you to normalize this. What Eatec is going to do by default is choose the cheapest provider or supplier or vendor, whatever you want to call it. However, that's not always the best option. Sometimes those vendors send us stuff with the cheapest price, send us inventory that has a very poor shelf life, and we end up having to toss, a third of it or 20% of it. And now we're actually spending more on those actual yields of those items. So within Eatec, we can assign things like a primary vendor, a secondary vendor, or a last resort vendor. If you have a primary vendor assigned to it or multiple primary vendors assigned, it will then apply the logic of who's the cheapest primary and move from the list that has those available to you. And then of course, we have barcodes. I purchase it by the case. So when I'm receiving it at the dock, I'm scanning that case of avocados and beep, beep, and I know that I'm getting a 10-pound box of avocados. However, once I've received them and I put them in my warehouse over here or my cooler, wherever they need to be stored, I put them on a shelf that has a tag on it, a barcode tag, and I know that I move those by the pound. So I'll scan that barcode on that shelf, pull out however many pounds have been requested, and then move on my way. So I don't have to do this manual. I'm using a barcode scanner to get this done. Very accurate, very efficient. Let's go ahead and look at some more information about this real quickly. As I move out of the edit mode, it provides a couple more fields up here on this bar. You can see we already went through nutrition, location, bins, lots, supplier bids, barcodes. I have transactions. I can see everything about what this has been requested, what requisitions this item has been associated to, any trend, the main warehouse to the central kitchen on this date, and the quantities, and by who and when. I can look at receiving, purchase orders, received no invoice, and usage. Who's been using this? Here I did an inventory correction because clearly I had way too many, so I spoiled off quite a bit. My point is, though, there is an audit on that. You can see that I did that. If this was in real world, I would have questions about someone spoiling something like that off. To that point, we can also put transaction approvals on place. So if someone did something like this, it would have it would get put into a queue for approval. But that's not a feature we're going to talk about today. Just know that it is there. In addition to tracking that, I also have cross-reference anywhere that this avocado is used. Packages and Infogenesis are just convenient ways of organizing groups of items. Things like my hotel supplies, warehouse, my inventory at the GPAC, my commons daily order, a daily bakery order of flour and sugar and eggs, things of that. So it's just an easy, convenient way to put packages together. So when you're creating requisitions, purchase orders, or transfers, you don't have to put all those items in individually. But in this instance, I have products that it could be associated to, products with things that we actually sell, and then we also have recipes. So I have this avocado being used in my a finished good called Avocados Cubed. I have it used in my fried egg plate as well. And then I can come over here. If for some reason I needed to change this avocado, for some reason our California avocados are just in short supply and we had to move to a different avocado, maybe a Mexican avocado. We make it very simple to replace an item in something like that. I would just put in what the new item is. I would come here and say, hey, I want to replace it in my recipes, and I would select the specific recipes that we want to change that in. Maybe the ones from Mexico aren't quite the caliber of the ones we get from California, so maybe we want to use those in specific recipes where it doesn't have such an impact and such a on the flavor or the outcome of the finished product. So maybe we'll use them in avocado and just salt it up, salt and pepper that thing, and sprig it with some lemon, and yeah, there we go. We got guacamole. But my point is we can go ahead and easily replace those items should there be a reason to have to do that. Make it very easy for you. Let's see. I talked about finished goods. We have finished goods like I talked about. This is something where we take a raw good and then we do something to it, like the raw, finished good, sliced avocado. Basically, we pitted it, we hold it, and we ended up with this sliced avocado of 8 pounds after using 10 pounds of avocado. We can do that. And then those can then be used in production kitchens. So I make these kinds of things like this, a finished good avocado toast. And I make this in a production kitchen where I'm going to make a bunch of these for an event that we're having. And so I can use this finished good for that as well and attach it to there. Of course, we have retail, but we're focused on food and beverage for today. So that's inventory at a very high level. Let's look at recipe management. I have recipes. Here's my salad, avocado, pineapple salad. There's two kind of concepts behind managing recipes in Eatec, or theories, I guess, or approaches, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But we have what I refer to as a center of plate, or a basic recipe, where you just attach the goods. We buy frozen patties, hamburger patties from the vendor. We buy the buns, we buy the sliced cheese, and we buy this pre-cooked bacon. And we just assign those single items to the product and produce it. So if I go here and go to products and I look for my bacon cheeseburger, you'll see that's what we've done here. A simple recipe. I'm not prepping any of the beef patties from raw ground beef. I'm not baking hamburger buns, and I'm not taking blocks of cheese and slicing it, and I'm not cooking bacon. All of this stuff I'm getting already pre-made from my vendors. So I have a very simple way to manage this recipe. However, or a product, I should say. For a complex recipe where you want to get to that bullseye again, dead center, we have this option for you. I go into this edit mode and I have my pineapple avocado. Just like everything else, we have pictures. I have pineapple cubes. I can have a quick little video showing them how to do it if you want on the solution here, so they know what they're supposed to be doing and staying consistent with chef's vision here. We also have a way, you can put in here a description here. I put in a hyperlink to YouTube. So if you have a private YouTube page and chef wants to make a video because it's a very specific way of everything's done, cool. They can copy and paste this into a browser and watch that video. Again, this is nothing hosted by Agilysys. This would be something on that side of your private websites, per the site, per the corporation, whatever it may be. I do have recipe details. I don't make this individually. I make this in a pan, and I get 12 servings out of it. And these are my unit cost. Because I get 12 servings out of it, and this is how much it costs per unit, it's only costing me this much to make this item. I can have any kind of remarks. I can have description, fresh avocado, pine, tossed with sweet and sour lime dressing. I can have my peel and slice avocado, my method for producing this item. And then I can have my presentation for this item. And then I have any HACCP rules that are related to this recipe. Consistency on 2 levels. For instance, I went into a restaurant once and I had something similar to this where I had a lot of avocado. I'll just say half a cup of avocado in it. Well, that was because that day when I went in, the line cook had his own personal preference to add half a cup of avocado because he perceived that to be better. He liked it that way, and he thinks the guests are going to like it that way. That's great. He's thinking. He's considering it. But the problem is we have rules. We have organizational policies. We need him to use the 1/4 ounce or the 1/4 cup of avocado, and we'll be able to sleuth that out when we start doing our physical counts. And there's supposed to be 10 boxes of avocado, and we only have 8. And we're going to reverse engineer that and find out what happened, and just have a conversation saying, look, we get it. 1/4 cup is better, but we have marginal goals and avocados aren't cheap. So let's just stick to the recipe. On the flip side of that is your guest experience. So I went in there one time and it had a half cup of avocado. I'm like, right on. I like this. I went back the next time and only had a 1/4 cup, but the same price. So now I'm a little, well, what happened here? I probably would understand it given that I'm in the industry, but in other worlds, maybe not so much. So again, for consistency, on your cost of goods and your production, also for your guest experience. Let's look at the ingredient about a complex recipe, and you can see that my batch quantity, my batch price, units, cost, portion, price, it's all right here, readily available to me. These are all real-time numbers if I change anything in here. But when I talk about complex recipes, you can see here that there's quite a bit more involved than that hamburger I just showed you. I have a raw goods parsley, and if I want to see what that parsley is, I can click on that, see what's going on with this parsley and how much we have of it and how we receive it. Lots of information there for me. I can see the settings of it. I can see the nutrition of that parsley if it's in there. So we have that available to you. Here is that finished good I was talking about, or a product of an avocado. It's been whole, pitted, and cubed. I can click in on and see that, and it has a different icon. It's a recipe. We also make our own sweet and sour dressing, and that's also a recipe. If I want to look at that recipe, I can look at the recipe. So again, this is a very complex recipe that gives us down to everything that we're using in this item. I added 100 ounces of cayenne pepper. Apparently, we're going to fuego this item. My point is we get this, if I wanted to add something like black pepper, I simply select that item, say black pepper, adds on here, and I can say I use 0.1 ounce. And again, units of measure are completely up to you. I can change them right here for this recipe if I wanted to, no problem. But based on how we've set this up, we use it by the ounce. If I wanted to get rid of the cayenne pepper now, I can simply come over here, select that item, and delete it, and confirm the cost and everything that's available to me. So again, nice, easy way to manage your recipes. I don't know if you noticed, but we also have the ability to really move this around. So if I want to see the conversion in front of unit, or I just don't even really care about the unit, or maybe, I don't know, USDA number. I don't want to see the USDA number. I apply that, and now that's gone. And if I click this save button right here, every time I log in, it's going to show me the information in the way I've organized it here, these columns, and not show me that supplier number that I just yielded out, or the unit number, whatever it may be that I yielded out. So a good way of really customizing the way your individual users want to consume this data. However they process it best, we can help work with them on that. Some other fields that are available are things like prep time, shelf life, And then, of course, the nutrition of the aggregate, which took a little bit of everything from that recipe and built the grams based of calories, based on the avocado, based on the salt, based on the pineapple, everything else that's in this recipe, so that you can share that with your customers if you so desire. With InfoGenesis POS, we can push that information. Currently, we're pushing all the allergens into InfoGenesis POS, so that at the point of sale, if someone says, I have a peanut allergy or a nut allergy, they can literally long press on this screen and say, eliminate all items that have a nut allergy associated to it, and the screen will remove all those items. And we push that into InfoGenesis. That's unique to the InfoGenesis POS solution. And in an ideal world, Eatec really does become your custodian of record, your single source of truth. Anything that you create in here gets pushed to your POS solution, so that with button text, with the receipt text, the pricing, so that anytime changes are made in the recipe, you'll know exactly where you are with that. Everything exists here. Just a real nice fluid way. Currently, that's only available with Agilysys InfoGenesis POS, and I believe there's a little bit of that functionality with the Oracle POS solution as well. We would just need to uncover that. As far as Toast and CG, we would just need to visit and understand if they can receive that information also. Currently, we haven't been doing it with them, so if you could bring them to the table, we'd be happy to work with them on that. What we can do with almost every POS solution out there is receive sales data, whether that's on a daily basis with your typical other POSs, even InfoGenesis, or if you want to go real time with InfoGenesis. The point that that information or that check is closed and it had that hamburger on it, it's going to talk back to Eatec in real time and say, hey, I depleted that bacon, that sliced cheese, that patty, and that bun. Boom, I can look on my phone, pull out my mobile app, and see what my real-time reports are, what my product velocity is, what my inventory levels are based on real-time information versus that frequency of once a day. Again, with the InfoGenesis, that's a real-time interface or near real-time interface. With our other solutions and or as an option with InfoGenesis or Agilysys Retail Golf and Spa, we can make that real-time or a daily upload as well. So that is a complex recipe. Again, like the other items, I'm going to get more information available when I jump out of the edit. I have all the same kinds of tracking. I have activity, anytime this was produced, any cross references, just like the other items, where this is used in recipes, where this is used in, and then I have the history of the salad. You can see I came in and made some changes here, just messed around, seen what's going on, but you always know who did it and when they did it and what they actually changed. So again, this is just really good for keeping your data intact. Garbage in, garbage out. We want to make sure that we're keeping this clean and getting good numbers so we can make good business decisions. Again, Eatec always wants to quantify, qualify, and then give you the ability to make decisions. We're going to give you suggestions, but ultimately it is up to you to make that. And I have a whole story behind that, but unfortunately I don't have time for that today. So that's recipes. So we've looked at inventories so far. Oh, it logged me out because I was sitting a moment. I got to log back into the whole solution. I'm going to stop sharing. One moment. Only takes a second, and that's what's nice about this solution. So I pop this back open. And let's go ahead and start sharing it. And I'll show you what the whole process looks like. It's pretty straightforward. Oh, yeah, there's my alpha. Oh, I got to share first. Apologize. Log in. It's Robert. Use my password. And it's going to ask price. It's going to ask me what site. So this will be a property. I'm going to work in my Grand Resorts, and I'm logging in as an administrator. So it's going to show me that appropriate information, and it takes me about earlier. So as I was saying, just kind of backtracking, we've covered inventories, the search engine, and all the accessible items. We've covered complex recipes and all the available information, and we've covered simple provide to our service or point of sale. That bacon cheeseburger, that avocado salad. These are the products that we actually sell that can be tied to a recipe or be a recipe themselves. So if I come in here, you can see I have a pineapple avocado salad here. Well, I have two versions. That's another thing I didn't really get a chance to mention, but why we're here is Eatec does have the ability to create a single product. We have a customer that produces items throughout the continental US, Canada, and Mexico. In the US, they have a potato salad recipe where I think on the East Coast, they use vinegar or something, and on the West Coast they use mayonnaise in this recipe, but they wanted a single product. They just want, hey, it's egg salad, and we just want that one item. So when they get their sales mix out of that, we just want to know how much we sold of the potato salad and what our margins were on that. But we're going to go with Eatec. When you dive in, if you want to get a deep dive, we're going to know what specific version of that recipe was used based on where it was sold. Was it sold in the West Coast location versus the East Coast location? It's still a single item, but it's managed with different versions. So if that's something that would be an interest, given Hilton's scope, that might be very applicable, and we can talk about that in more depth at another time. So we've talked about inventory, we talked about recipes, and we've talked about products. Where am I being guided to next? Menu engineering. Let's pop back down here into my sales forecasting. This is where we're going to get into that into this kind of engineering aspect of things. I can create a forecasted menu. I'm going to do this Hilton. I'm going to copy one. Hilton 3-day kids menu. And we're going to produce this out of my central kitchen. It's going to start on the 24th, 2 weeks from now. And it's going to be by the day. It can be by the week, it can be a month, whatever you want. I'm going to say this is a daily event, and it's for 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I have descriptions and covers if I know that information. I'm going to go to my item list over here, and I can come in here. I can packages I can add to this. If I type in a package like bakery, I was going to show you one. B-A-K-E, bake. Oh, those are products. Let me see what product pages I have. I was looking at inventory items, so I can do it ampersand. So here's a whole list of different things. If I say, hey, I want to get all of my, let's just say apparel. I don't know what's going to go here, guys. We're flying. It's going to load up everything in that package. So you can see how easy this would be for retail to do these kinds of things. Let's go ahead and cancel that. I was just showing you what packages look like, how you can order by specific items and by specific class or product types. I want to show you an easier way based on historical information. So I've created a new one again. Go back in here, say Hilton. 3-day kids menu. Central kitchen. Again, we're starting on the 24th. It's for the day, and it's 3 days long. And I come over to my item list. I don't want to go through and pick this. I want to base this on the last time we held this event. So I can go in here and say load sales inventory. Well, when was that last event? Well, last time we did it was on the 3rd, and it ended on the 5th, and it was still hosted at the central kitchen. And I'm not going to align my days. So I'm just going to say average it out. And I can then load data. Eatec is going to go out, look at the information from that date range of when this happened before, and tell me what was consumed, and give me suggested quantities based on that data. So on Wednesday, it's saying we should serve 30, 30, and 35. 50 and 55. Thursday, we didn't get any cheeseburgers. Kids weren't into it. They were loving these burritos, apparently. And then on Friday, we have a more distributed kind of volume here. And I can see my total quantities. I can see my total cost. I can see everything on this and my profits from that. And I can create this new sales forecasting for production. Easy way to get that done. Just quick and easy. Once I've created that, this one here, because now we're going to do some analysis of it when we really get into the engineering of this piece. You can see I have all my items here. I keep hitting this column resize because it just kind of brings everything into picture. Makes it a little bit easier to see here. I can come in here. I can print worksheets, standard work form. And so if I need to know, hey, what is this going to encompass? It's going to show me everything I need to have. You can see for the burrito cheese, the kids burger meal, and the other cheese burrito from this worksheet. It's going to print that out for you. You can send it off however you want. But let's get a little more into it. Let's look at an analysis of this. This is where we get into the real engineering of this. Besides what's available on the dashboard, I have this. I can expand all items to see what's in here and what consists down to the ingredient level. I can also do engineering on this item. I can now look, based on history, how we performed with these items over time. Over time, we noticed that these things did very well. We had a high profit and a high adoption. The kids were into this. So these are things that we did. What we need to look at is this low, that kid's cheeseburger meal. Probably the biggest influence on that is that one day where nobody ordered them. But also what doesn't have an influence on the velocity is the profit. Beef has gone expensive. Maybe that's the culprit. So what we would do is now reverse engineer, look at this kid's cheeseburger meal, see what's in there, and see what's causing it to be so much less profitable, and decide, do we want to use a smaller patty? Do we want to remove elements of this burger meal? Do we get rid of the toy that's in there? You know, what are we going to do to get this in a profit margin? Because while it's low, it's still an option. Again, completely up to you. And this is a very simplistic format. I kept it simple for that purpose. We just don't want a whole bunch of data. It kind of gets willy-nilly on me. Another thing we can do with this, if I go back to my shopping cart, well, actually, let's go back to my my item list here, is I can do scaling. Let's look at the shopping cart, and we'll get into scaling in a minute, but you can see here I can scale items. I want to go by shopping cart. I know that I'm forecasting this event, and based on the history of the previous events or multiple events or that single event that I selected, I want it to create me a shopping list, tell me what I'm going to need. Exclude everything that's on order, anything that's already on hand, and I only need it for the central kitchen. I have a couple other things that I can filter if I'm a specific ordering for specific inventory types or classes or specific packages, but I'm just going to keep it high level and say, hey, just apply this. And it's going to tell me what I need to produce that for that event in 2 weeks. 1 week, 2 weeks. Cool. We only need some shredded cheese. No problem. I can easily take that and say, hey, paste that into a purchase order or a requisition if we're getting it from our local warehouse. No problem. Let's go with next step. I want to go back to that item list, and I was talking about scaling. So now I can come in here and I can say, hey, we know this is going to be a thunderous event. We're going to actually make 10. We're going to multiply this by 10. Or I can scale it down by 50% because we know it's going to be pouring rain. We just really don't expect the same kind of attendance. I'm going to use this extreme of make 10 times of everything. So if we ordered 30 in the regular menu, it's going to bump this up to 300. I'm going to go ahead and say update, and you'll see everything jumped in quantity here. Now when I go to my shopping cart and I say create that shopping cart, because we're including so much more volume here, I come in here for my central location, I say apply. Notice my shopping list grew considerably. So it's going to tell me everything I need to procure to meet this, this list of items for producing that sales forecasted sales for the 3 to 8 kids menu. I finally got that out. And then I can go ahead and paste that into a requisition if we're getting it locally, a purchase order, or into a purchase request quite easily. So it's just a real efficient, easy way to get in there and manage that. Again, so we're still talking about the menu engineering. And like I said, if we go into engineering, everything we need to know about that, and we can take action on it and grow that across the property. That is menu engineering in a very high level. Again, you can see I have lots of different types of sales forecasting. The next area we're going to move into is reporting. There are a couple of reports. Actually, it was about 7 or 8 reports. Of them, most are typically received from the POS. Things like menu item sales mix, sales by hour, sales by meal period, sales recap outlet with logbook. Those are typically received from, you would pull that information from a POS solution. However, we can get some of that information natively in Eatec. Things like theoretical beverage costs was something that was requested. So I go into my reports module, I select reports, and I know, and you will know eventually after training, that I want to know about theoretical food costs. I'm just going to look for everything that has cost. I'm like, oh, yeah, here's one. Products activity, sales location with cost. So I've chosen my report, which we have hundreds of. I think last time I heard around 300. So lots of different reports depending on what you're doing and how you're doing it, whether it's production, whether it's retail, whether it's food and beverage, just really whatever information you want to look at, you know, event management, things of that nature. Today we're going to focus on this one, which was the theoretical beverage cost was the first request. So I've said I want to see what my costs were for this location or many locations, and I want to look at, let's just see what we did last year. And I want to say, let's look at Central Kitchen, because that's where I do most of my fun time. And I can generate that report. And they wanted to see just beverages. So I come over here to product types, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in bev, because I have a naming convention that makes it easy. And I say select everything that has the BEV in it. So that's getting my beverages, alcohol, beer, wine, beverages, miscellaneous beverages. If I wanted to unselect one of these, I could very easily do that. But I'm going to go ahead and select all of them, because that was the request. And I can go ahead and generate that report. And it's going to show you everything that I've sold hit the central kitchen related to beverages. Anchor Steam Beer, lower margin because I think they closed the production on that recently, so maybe that's why. It's got a high cost on it maybe. Well, actually we can see, here's my cost, yeah, and there's my margin. Much smaller margin on that thing. My Heineken's, my beer, and then I have my banquet bar, which we didn't get any activity on the banquet bar last year. Banquet bar would be something where someone pays like a flat rate and it's open bar or something to that nature. So we didn't have any of that activity, but we see our total numbers here. Say we want to look at beverages. I mean, again, pretty straightforward stuff of how we filter and sort this item. If I want to look at something, hey, let's look at what happened this week. Current week, I can select current week. You can see here, I can do specific date ranges. I can even, one of the reports was by hour. Sure, we can do it by hour and we can schedule that report. We just have to select the hour and stuff of them. Whereas in something like InfoGenesis POS, you can get that same report on a single page and it's going to break out your sales by hour, by 1 to 2 p.m. 2 to 3 p.m. You can even break it down into 15-minute increments if you want. So typically that's something you would usually get from your POS. But again, we do have the capacity in here. It's just not really as coherent, if that's the proper word, because it's going to give it to you all. It's going to give you a single report for that single hour. And you'd have to create, one for every hour of the day. We could do it. We're happy to build it if we want to. Again, like I said, this is a modern product. While it's 30 years old, we rebuilt it about 8 years ago on a modern platform. So enhancements from customers like you have a huge influence. We have a customer advisory board. So this product really is driven by our users. So those kinds of input are very well received by our development team and our product management team. So I could see all that information. The other one that I want to see was on the same kind of page, which is theoretical food costs. And so now I've got all my beverages, but I'm going to exclude the beverages. We have a beverage manager. I'm excluding all beverages, and I just want to see what those are called. And I want to look again at current week, and all I did was say exclude beverages, and it's going to tell me everything I've done this week for food. Here's that breakfast burrito, this cheese burrito, some cheeseburgers, and some salads that I've sold, and here are my margins. It's got some pretty good margins here. Of course, this is just food costs. This isn't factoring in labor yet. If you want to, we could build labor elements to this, but for sure, at 84.79%, it's clearly a win right there. So those are our theoretical food costs that were requested. All of the reports can be downloaded and brought into PDF, Excel, a document, CSV format. So if you have a data lake or you have an analytical tool like Hyperion, or if you just have a pivot table that you want to put this in. When we have document exports and HTML, that's very handy for things like nutritional information that you may want to get up on a page. And I think I have an example. Yeah, let's just open this file. I'll show you what the export looks like. It's not it looks pretty clean here for you. Let me share this with you. One moment. Here it is. Share this window. And you can see pops out in a nice usable format that you can then what you need to do with it. I'm going to jump back to the product. I know we're coming up on my 45-minute timeline. I hope everyone is finding this useful. I enjoy this. I hope you are as well. That pretty much concludes my hit list, I believe. We look forward to the opportunity to speak with you in person and do customized versions of this demonstration, including the list of everything else that can happen in the solution. Again, my name's Robert Mungary. I'm a sales engineer at Agilysys. This is Eatec Inventory and Procurement. Thank you for your time and have a great day.